If you had to quit consuming that glorious green herb, how would you do it? What would your approach be? Because there's realistically only like 2 ways to do it, and you can approach those 2 ways differently, but there's really only like 2 ways to do it. And this is something I get asked about from time to time, and I've thought about it, but I don't see myself quitting in like the near future. But if I had to do it, this is how I would do it. And somebody just the other day asked me about this in my Twitch stream, so I wrote it down to make sure I could make a video. Which, if you don't tune into my Twitch streams, I get high every night after 9 p.m. Eastern. You're missing the dankest session on the internet, and you could ask a question or say something that might inspire a future video. But this is how I would quit if I had to. Well, first I'll tell you what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't quit cold turkey. I just made a video about withdrawal symptoms the other day. Quitting cold turkey, most people just experience withdrawals. Like, if you go from smoking a lot or smoking pretty frequently to just stopping, it's not gonna be a good time. But most people that have to quit, they have to do it that way. They got a drug test coming up. They got in trouble. There's some reason where it's like, nah, I just got to stop now. So if you have to stop abruptly, good luck to you. I mean, getting rid of your pieces, obviously stop buying the stuff that's going to help you quit if you really want to. But that's not something I would recommend, or somebody who's trying to actually quit. That's not something that I would say if you really wanted to quit. I would highly advise tapering yourself off or quitting slowly. It's hard to just stop. You're going to want it more or miss it more, or you might just be signing yourself up for a bad time. But quitting over time or quitting slowly is like a much better approach on your body. It's going to be easier for you. And then you still have a little bit of time where you can get high. But quitting slowly is a much better approach. Like, you want to taper yourself off, essentially. It's going to be easier on you. It's going to be easier for your body. And you're just going to have a better time overall because, well, you could still get high for a couple more weeks, few more weeks, however you approach it. But what I would do is I would just slowly reduce the amount that I smoke over time, the frequency at which I smoke, also the amount of time that I smoke. Like, right now I do about a 4 or 5 hour smoke sesh every night on Twitch. I don't know exactly how much I smoke. I guess most people have an idea, but it varies. Sometimes I do a little bit more concentrate, sometimes a little more flour. But let's just say like the number is 3 grams. If I add all the concentrate flour together and just give you a generic number, let's say the amount I use is 3 grams every night, and I smoke in a 4 or 5 hour window. Well, I would start, I guess, maybe the next day by just trying to shorten the window that I smoke slightly, and then also lessen the amount that I smoke slightly. Like, if I go from smoking from a 5 hour window to where I just don't go over 4, I'll probably do less hits. I'll probably smoke less because I take a hit every 20-30 minutes depending on how high I am. But I would shorten the window and then shorten the amount that I smoked, right? If I took an hour off, I'll take a few hits off. I'll take 10, maybe 15% of the amount that I consumed off. I would personally still keep smoking every day. If you're a daily smoker, it's going to be easier to just keep that daily routine. But I would just like slightly tweak that daily routine. If I went from a 5 hour smoke sesh to where I was doing 3 grams to a 30-minute smoke session, I can only do 1 hit, I might still experience withdrawals. And it's true that you can still smoke and experience withdrawal. Like, if you're used to consuming a ton, 10, 20 grams in a night, every night, and then the next day you only consume 1 gram, a half a gram, or something that's much less, you're gonna have a bad time. Your body's like, hey bro, where are all these other cannabinoids I'm used to? I need that. But slowly reducing it over time is not going to have as much of an impact on you. So shortening that window of time when I smoke and lessening the amount of flour or concentrate that I consume in that window is going to help slowly lower my tolerance over time to where I don't even need as much to get high. But when you don't need as much to get high, it's a lot easier to quit. When you need a lot to get high, it's really hard to just quit. It's really hard to just stop. It's really hard to take your last puff when you just puffed like 15 grams. But slowly reducing that over time. And there's no set date. You might want to set a date for yourself personally, like, all right, I need to quit by February 12th. I don't know. You might set like a random date like that, or you might have a reason to set a date. But just like being conscious of the amount that you're consuming over time and the frequency at which you're consuming will give you more control over the situation and will help you to quit. So I think I would personally try to just reduce maybe over like a 2 or 3 week span, just get down to where I'm consuming half as much maybe my 3-gram 5-hour smoke sesh turns into a 2-hour, 2.5-hour smoke sesh where I'm only consuming 1.5 grams, 2 grams, but reducing that amount over time. If in 2 or 3 weeks you can get to consuming half the amount that you were consuming previously, you're already on the right track. You're headed in the right direction. You can keep that same approach of just less and less over time, but eventually you're gonna have to put spaces in the days, right? If you're smoking every day, you might want to say, well, let me just take Thursday off and then we'll get high on Friday. Putting those days or those spaces in there is going to help you when you get to the point where you just can't smoke anymore. Some people can still look forward to something if it happens tomorrow, or if it happens in a couple of days, you know. So eventually you're going to shorten the windows and the frequency at which you're smoking, but then you're going to have to try to space it out. I know a lot of people that only smoke on the weekends and they just get super high because they're only smoking on the weekends. If you can get out of that I need to smoke every day mentality or that routine, if you don't genuinely need it, if your body's not craving it so heavily every day, then it's easier to just take that day off. Like every day you take off, the longer you go without smoking, the higher you're going to get when you smoke and the less you need. So spacing your sessions out, reducing the amount that you're smoking in your sesh, all these things are going to work together to help lower your tolerance and lower your cravings for it overall. There's so many people that just blast themselves with so much. They're getting so high, they're consuming ridiculous amounts, and then they're like, oh my God, I gotta take a tolerance break. And usually the tolerance break is miserable because they're just experiencing withdrawals for like a whole week. But they could have fixed their tolerance using moderation and slowly adjusting their smoking schedule over time. But most people's approach is, let me just stop. But if I had to quit completely, I wouldn't want to be miserable for the first few weeks because like that's not fun. I mean, I don't know. Tolerance breaks are terrible. There's better ways to manage it, but just quitting cold turkey, smoking weed is terrible. If you're a heavy consumer, if you're consuming a lot, if you're dabbing through grams every day and then you just stop, your body's gonna freak out like, hey bro, where's all that good stuff? So it is like a personal thing, right? It's gonna be a little bit different for everybody. Everybody consumes a little bit differently, consumes a different amount. Not everybody does everything exactly the same. But the whole goal, I guess, with quitting is just slowly lowering your tolerance until you just don't really need to smoke anymore. Another thing I want to mention is you might have to change your activities or your routine a little bit, or at least mix it up for a little while you're going through this. If every night you're like, yeah, I like to smoke and then play video games, smoke and play video games, that's what I do every night, and then you're doing the video games but not the smoking, you're like, damn, these games might suck. Or just playing the games might make you want to smoke. So I don't know. That might be a tip to help you. If you just keep doing the things that you do when you're used to smoking, you might extra miss that smoking, right? Like, shoot, this game is not nearly as fun when I'm not baked. But either way, I don't really see myself quitting in the near future. But if I had to for some reason, if they hit me up and they're like, hey, yo, we found this planet that has the craziest weed ever. We need to send somebody over there to smoke it and test it out. But you can't get on the spaceship if you've been smoking earth weed. They won't let you. Like, I'll figure it out. I don't know. Either way, link your Amazon Prime. Give me that Jeff Bezos weed money by subscribing to my Twitch. Follow me on Instagram, Cewpins420. Hey, I don't post that much, but go give me a follow. And if you didn't hear about the time that I was the highest I've ever been, check this out. I got super duper high. Have a lit day, my dudes.